You see a baby, bundled in thick wool, sleeping peacefully in a stroller. Nothing unusual, except it's -5 degrees Celsius, and the parents are inside a warm cafe, sipping coffee with friends, seemingly unconcerned. In many parts of the world, this scene would trigger alarm bells, perhaps even a call to social services. In Sweden, it's just a Tuesday. This single, baffling image holds the key to understanding this entire nation. What if the secret to this Nordic enigma isn't found in its polished museums or minimalist design, but in the profound, almost radical trust required to leave your most precious possession to nap in the freezing air? This isn't just a trip to Sweden. This is an expedition to decode an invisible social contract, a philosophy so powerful it shapes everything from billion-dollar tax bills to the way a father bonds with his newborn. Join me as we peel back the layers of a supposed utopia to find the complex, controversial, and deeply human truth beneath. Before you can understand the grand gestures of the Swedish state, the generous welfare, the pristine cities, the remarkable social equality, you have to understand a single, notoriously untranslatable word that governs the Swedish soul: lagom. It's often poorly translated as not too much, not too little, which to an outsider sounds like a recipe for mediocrity, a celebration of the average. But that's a profound misunderstanding. Lagom is not about being bland, it's about finding the optimal, sustainable balance. It's the quiet, cultural rejection of excess, greed, and individual flashiness in favor of collective well-being and functional harmony. It's the invisible software that runs in the background of every social interaction. You see lagom in the very essence of Swedish design, epitomized by IKEA. The goal isn't to create the most luxurious, ornate furniture, but the most functional, affordable, and elegantly simple solution for the many. It's in the social etiquette. You don't boast about your salary or achievements. You don't take the last cookie on the plate without first cutting it in half and offering it around. In a business meeting, the loudest voice in the room is often the least respected. Consensus is prized over confrontation. It's a collective agreement to lower the temperature, to find a middle ground where everyone can feel comfortable and secure. And the price for this balance, this lagom-infused society, is paid at the tax office. Swedes face some of the highest and most progressive income tax rates in the world. It's not uncommon for a high-earning professional to hand over more than half their income to the state. To an American or British mindset, this can sound confiscatory, even oppressive. But here, the perspective is fundamentally different. It's widely viewed as a subscription fee for civilization. It's the tangible, financial manifestation of an invisible social contract you sign at birth. You will contribute a significant portion of your wealth, and in return, the state will provide a safety net so comprehensive it's almost unimaginable elsewhere. This isn't just theory. The competitor's video mentioned a state fund, and they were right. It's called Försäkringskassan, the Swedish social insurance agency. But calling it a fund is an understatement. It's a colossal, bureaucratic titan that acts as the financial enforcer of the social contract. It's the agency that pays you when you're sick. Imagine this: you feel unwell. You call your employer and tell them. For the first 14 days, you can stay home, receiving sick pay, without ever needing a doctor's note. The system is built on a foundation of trust. The assumption that you are a responsible adult, not a child trying to skip school. If your illness is longer, Försäkringskassan steps in, paying a large portion of your salary for months, sometimes even years, ensuring a major health crisis doesn't lead to financial ruin. Need a dental filling or a checkup? The state, through this agency, subsidizes the cost, making oral health a right, not a luxury. Lose your job? You don't just get basic unemployment benefits, you can apply for housing allowances and other forms of support, a temporary shield against disaster while you find new work. But this shield has conditions, and this is where the contract becomes a two-way street. You are expected to be actively searching for a job, attending meetings at the employment office, and proving that you are trying to get back on your feet. The support isn't a hammock, it's a trampoline designed to bounce you back into the workforce. However, this system is far from perfect. It is the paradox of the Swedish model, a system designed for humanistic support that can often feel deeply impersonal and frustratingly bureaucratic. Ask any Swede, and they will likely have a story about the maddening forms, the long waiting times for a decision, the feeling of being a case number in a vast, faceless machine. It's the price of lagom. Efficiency and fairness on a mass scale sometimes comes at the cost of individual nuance and speed. The social contract is robust, but it is also rigid, a complex bargain of high contribution for high security. Nowhere is this social contract more radical or more visible in daily life than when a child is born. In most countries, parental leave is a brief, often stressful affair primarily shouldered by the mother. In Sweden, it's a 480-day paid odyssey for the couple. Let that sink in. 16 months. You and your partner can share this time, staying home with your newborn for more than a year, while receiving around 80% of your salary, paid for by the state via the taxes of your fellow citizens. This isn't just a generous benefit, it's a piece of revolutionary social engineering designed to promote gender equality from the very first day of a child's life. And here's the most crucial detail: the masterstroke of the policy. Of those 480 days, 90 are reserved exclusively for the father. The so-called papa nader, or daddy months. They are use it or lose it. If he doesn't take them, the family forfeits that time and the associated pay. This simple, non-negotiable rule has single-handedly reshaped Swedish masculinity and family dynamics. It's the direct reason why, on any given weekday, you see so many latte dads. Fathers confidently pushing those famously large, rugged strollers through the city streets, meeting up for coffee, and attending state-sponsored baby care courses. Taking this leave isn't just an option, it's a social expectation. A father who doesn't take his months might face quiet judgment from colleagues and friends. The policy's impact ripples through society. It forces companies to view male employees as just as likely to take extended leave as female ones, subtly chipping away at the motherhood penalty that plagues women's careers in other countries. It fundamentally alters the division of labor at home, fostering a generation of men who are as comfortable changing diapers and soothing a crying baby as they are with their professional duties. This state-sponsored time for connection bleeds into the fabric of daily work life through another sacred institution, fika. The competitor's video called it a coffee break, which is like calling the Grand Canyon a hole in the ground. Fika is a protected, almost mandatory social ritual. It's a moment, often once in the morning and once in the afternoon, to stop everything, step away from your desk, gather with colleagues, and share coffee and pastries. The star of the show is often the kanelbulle, cinnamon bun. But it could also be a slice of prinsessrette as princess cake, or a few chocolate ballers chocolate balls. It's not about grabbing a coffee to go. It's about the pause. It's about the unstructured conversation. In a Swedish office, suggesting you're too busy for fika, is a major social faux pas. It signals that you don't understand the culture, that you prioritize work over well-being and community. Fika is the social contract in miniature. It's a collective, unspoken agreement to prioritize human connection over relentless productivity. It's a buffer against burnout, an incubator for creative ideas, and a daily reaffirmation that your colleagues are more than just coworkers. It's the antidote to the individualism that the culture also cherishes. It's lagom in a coffee cup, a reminder that being a good worker also means being a present human being. The quarterly 80 days of leave and the daily ritual of fika are two sides of the same coin. A society that has contractually agreed that life is, and must be, more than just work. But for all its carefully balanced social engineering, Sweden has a glaring, deeply stressful flaw. For all its safety nets, it has failed to solve one of the most basic human needs: housing. The country is in the grips of a chronic, systemic housing crisis that directly contradicts its egalitarian ideals. The competitor's video correctly highlighted the astronomical cost of buying a home, with prices in Stockholm routinely exceeding 10,000 per square meter. A modest 100 square meter apartment can easily cost $1 million or more. For most, even with two good professional incomes, this form of ownership, known as bostadsrätt TT, the right to live in a housing cooperative, is a distant dream. This pushes the vast majority of people, especially young people, students, and newcomers, into the rental market. And this is where the Swedish system reveals its most baffling and broken aspect: the bostadskö, the official housing queue. To get a desirable, first-hand rental contract, see hyresrätt, with a legally capped, reasonable rent, you don't just need money. You need time. You register with the municipal housing agency and you start accumulating points. 1 point for every day you are in the queue. Then you wait and wait. In Stockholm, the average waiting time is not 1 or 2 years. It's over a decade. For apartments in the city center, it can be 20, 30, or even 40 years. It's a common practice for parents to sign their children up for the queue the day they are born, as a kind of generational gift. Imagine the reality of this. A young computer programmer moves to Stockholm for a dream job at a world-famous tech company. She has a fantastic salary, but zero queue time. She is effectively locked out of the primary rental market. This forces her and hundreds of thousands of others into a chaotic and often predatory sub-market of short-term, second-hand contracts, andra hand. Here, landlords can charge double or triple the regulated rent, and tenants have almost no security, often forced to move every 6 or 12 months. It creates immense stress, instability, and inequality. How can a society that provides for you from cradle to grave make it nearly impossible to find a secure place to live? The paradox stems from a heavily regulated rental market that has failed to keep up with population growth and urbanization. While the rent controls were intended to ensure fairness, they severely disincentivized the construction of new rental properties, leading to a massive, decades-long shortage. It's a stark reminder that even the most well-intentioned social policies can have disastrous, unforeseen consequences. The Swedish dream of a secure home is, for many, blocked by an invisible wall of bureaucracy far more formidable than any price tag. There is another, more primal contract that Swedes must honor, one with nature itself. The long, brutal, and profoundly dark winters are not just a meteorological fact. They are a formidable force that shapes the national psyche. From November to March, the sun is a pale, fleeting visitor. In the far north, it disappears completely for weeks on end in a phenomenon known as the polar night. As the competitor noted, it's a leading cause of seasonal affective disorder, and the soul-crushing experience of leaving for work in darkness and returning home in darkness is a draining reality for a third of the year. But Swedes don't just passively endure the darkness. They have developed a cultural toolkit to actively combat it. This is the concept of mise, the Swedish equivalent of the Danish hygge, but perhaps more active. Mise is the conscious creation of coziness, warmth, and psychological light. It's a verb, an act. It's about lighting candles everywhere, on windowsills, on dinner tables, on office desks. It's about draping sofas in soft, woolen blankets. It's about the smell of baking kanelbuller filling the house. It's about gathering with a few close friends for a quiet dinner, drinking warm glowed GGs, mulled wine, and creating a pocket of human warmth against the oppressive, silent gloom outside. It's a deliberate act of defiance against the weather, and when the darkness finally, blessedly recedes, it gives way to an almost manic, nationwide worship of the light. The Swedish summer is a brief, glorious, and precious explosion of life, and it is anchored by another concept as fundamental as lagom, allemansrätten, or the right of public access. This ancient custom, now enshrined in the Constitution, gives every person the right to roam freely in the countryside, to walk, cycle, swim, sail, camp for a night, and pick wild berries and mushrooms on any land, as long as it isn't a private garden, near a dwelling, or actively cultivated farmland. Allemansrätten is the ultimate expression of the social contract extended to the land itself. The landscape doesn't belong to a duke or a corporation. It belongs to everyone collectively. And with this extraordinary right comes a profound, unspoken responsibility. Inte störa, inte falla restera. Don't disturb, don't destroy. This deep-seated principle explains the Swedish obsession with nature and their world-leading recycling habits. The pant system, where you pay a deposit on every can and plastic bottle that you get back when you return it to a machine at the supermarket, isn't just an environmental policy. It's a daily, tangible ritual of upholding your end of the deal with nature. The land is a shared living room, and allemansrätten is the house rule. Enjoy it, but leave it as you found it, or better. It's also why the summer cottage, or stuga, is a national institution, a place where Swedes retreat to live out this natural contract in its purest form. For decades, this intricate web of social contracts, with the state, with each other, with nature, was built on a foundation of high trust and profound cultural and ethnic homogeneity. But that foundation is now being tested in the most significant way imaginable. Since the mid-20th century, Sweden has positioned itself as a humanitarian superpower, welcoming waves of immigrants. It began with guest workers from Finland and Southern Europe to fuel its post-war industries, and was followed by refugees fleeing conflict from Chile in the 70s, Iran in the 80s, the Balkans in the 90s, and most significantly, from Iraq and Syria in the 2000s and 2010s. Today, nearly a quarter of Sweden's population has a foreign background. This rapid demographic shift has presented the greatest challenge to the Swedish model. The competitor's video touched on this, stating that some Swedes feel migrants don't share their values. This is a simplistic take on a deeply complex and painful issue. The real friction isn't just about cultural differences, it's about the immense strain on the social contract itself. A high-trust, high-tax welfare system is now grappling with the challenges of integrating large populations into a labor market and a famously reserved culture. This has led to the growth of segregated neighborhoods, or utanfarskap, a powerful Swedish word meaning outsiderness or exclusion. Where unemployment is high, social mobility is low, and a sense of alienation festers. This, in turn, has fueled a rise in gang-related crime that has shattered Sweden's long-held image as one of the safest countries in the world. The debate is no longer whispered politely over fika. It's the central, roaring topic of Swedish politics. It has propelled the rise of the nationalist Sweden Democrats, a party with roots in neo-Nazism that was once a political pariah and is now a dominant force, propping up the center-right government. The conversation is about fundamental, existential questions. Can a welfare model built on the principles of lagom and universal trust function in a multicultural, more individualistic society? How do you successfully integrate newcomers into a culture that is notoriously difficult for even other Nordics to penetrate? What is the breaking point for a system funded by a shrinking proportion of the tax-paying population? This is not a simple story of versus them. It's a story of a nation struggling to reconcile its noble humanitarian ideals with the messy, practical challenges of integration. It's about a social contract designed for one type of society, being stretched, renegotiated, and fought over in real time. The quiet, consensual Sweden of the past is gone. In its place is a more dynamic, more divided, and perhaps more honest nation, forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that no system, no matter how well designed, is immune to the pressures of a changing world. So, we return to the baby sleeping soundly in the cold. It's no longer just a strange habit. It's a powerful symbol of an entire worldview, one of immense trust in society, deep faith in a social contract, a rugged relationship with nature, and a belief in the resilience of a well-cared-for child. But as we've seen, that contract is now under immense pressure, frayed by a housing crisis that betrays its promise of security and tested by a historic demographic shift that questions its very foundations. Sweden is not a finished utopia, nor is it a failed state. It's a living, breathing, and sometimes struggling experiment in building a just society. It teaches us that this work is a constant process of negotiation, compromise, and facing uncomfortable truths. It is a nation far more complex, conflicted, and fascinating than its serene surface suggests. What part of this Swedish social contract surprised you the most? The 480 days of leave, the 20-year housing queue, or the right to roam anywhere? Share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. If this journey opened up a new perspective for you, please share it with a fellow traveler who loves to look beyond the tourist trail. And for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world, make sure to subscribe. Until the next exploration, stay curious.